In our headlines on this Monday afternoon, June 12th, here in South Korea. Neighbouring Japan is conducting a trial that will last a fortnight of its plans to discharge radioactive wastewater from the devastated Fukushima nuclear power plant into the sea in the face of heated opposition from its fishing community. Meanwhile, Seoul and Beijing continue to lock horns over recent comments by the Chinese ambassador here, who warned against the Yoon administration's, quote, betting on the US against China. And Korea's teenage technical warriors end in 4th place at the 23rd edition of the FIFA U-20 World Cup in Argentina after surrendering to Israel by 3-1 in the early hours of Monday morning, Korea Standard Time. Japan is launching a 2-week trial today in preparation of its intentions to discharge Fukushima radioactive wastewater into the Pacific Ocean starting later this summer. Our Shin Se-byuk starts us off.
Starting Monday, Japan is carrying out a 2-week test run on the process of discharging nuclear contaminated water from the wrecked Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. This is according to Japan's local media Fukushima TV on Sunday, citing the plant's operator, the Tokyo Electric Power Company. During the test run, it will ensure the safety of the discharging process. Although there won't be any actual release, the start of the trial operations means a release could become imminent. Last week, Japan sent some 6,000 tons of seawater into a 1-kilometer-long underwater tunnel built in the nuclear power plant. This approach aims to mix the water, which has been decontaminated of all radioactive substances except tritium that's inseparable from water, with seawater and release it. Japan plans to have its water release system ready by the end of this month. A final report from the International Atomic Energy Agency on its inspection is expected in late June. Once everything is completed, Japan plans to release more than 1 million tons of contaminated water currently stored at the stricken power plant. Meanwhile, Japanese authorities are facing fierce opposition from local fishermen. Last Saturday, Japan's industry minister Yasutoshi Nishimura met with local fisheries representatives to seek their understanding for the plant release. Their representatives expressed grave concerns over the plan, saying the move is fueling anxiety about the future of fishing operations. To that, Nishimura said the government is to provide increased support to expand the consumption of fisheries products and that it will continue working to develop the nation's fisheries industries. Japan plans to release the contaminated water into the sea this summer, while pledging it would not dispose of the contaminated water without consent from concerned parties. Shin Se-byuk, Arirang News.
Seoul and Beijing have been engaged in a war of words in recent days that was triggered by the Chinese ambassador here, who found fault with the Yoon administration's alleged aligning with the US against China. Our foreign ministry correspondent Pei Eun-ji reports.
China has expressed strong dissatisfaction towards South Korea following last week's meeting between the Chinese ambassador to South Korea, Shin Hai-ming, and South Korea's opposition party leader, Lee Jae-myung. In a statement on Sunday, the Chinese Foreign Ministry said that its assistant foreign minister called in South Korea's ambassador to Beijing, Chung Jae-ho, and conveyed Beijing's serious concern and dissatisfaction over Seoul's, quote, unfair reaction. This comes as tensions between the two countries have been rising after the Chinese top envoy to Seoul criticized the Yoon administration's foreign policy being focused on the U.S., saying that it was wrong for Seoul to bet on China losing.
Some are betting that the United States will win and China will lose, but clearly this is a misjudgment.
In response, last Friday, South Korea's foreign ministry summoned the top Chinese envoy, warning that such remarks were absurd and provocative. Seoul's first vice foreign minister Chang Ho-jin said the remarks run counter to the Vienna Convention, as it can be considered as an attempt to intervene in South Korea's domestic politics. Under the Vienna Convention, an international agreement on diplomatic relations, sovereign countries have a duty not to interfere in a country's internal affairs. Separately, Foreign Minister Park Jin also strongly criticized Shing's remarks, saying that the ambassador went too far. Pei Eun-ji, Arirang News.
At the National Assembly on this Monday, a Q&A session is underway with government officials fielding questions from lawmakers regarding a host of sensitive matters. They include Tokyo's planned discharge of radioactive wastewater from its crippled Fukushima nuclear power plant, especially in light of a recent on-site inspection of treatment facilities there by a team of South Korean delegates. Also on the agenda of the parliamentary hearing is the conflict surrounding last week's meeting between the head of the opposition Democratic Party, Lee Jae-myung, and Chinese ambassador to South Korea, Shin Hai-ming, which has led to a war of words between Seoul and Beijing and an uproar from the ruling People Power Party. The rival parties are also expected to lock horns over the National Election Commission, currently mired in a rampant nepotism scandal. An online U.S. media coverage suggests that both Seoul and Beijing may be racing to recover the sunken debris of North Korea's recently failed satellite launch. Citing an anonymous source, NK News claims China may be conducting a search operation for the debris, as is South Korea. The website's ship tracking data further bolsters this claim, with records showing several Chinese vessels near the designated recovery site. According to the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, both South Korea and China possess the right to claim any discovery made within this maritime zone. Over in Ukraine, the country's armed forces claim their counter-offensive has led to some early victories, but Russia insists it has been staging a successful defense. Our Lee Seung-won has the latest.
Ukraine says it has taken control of 3 frontline villages in the western Donetsk region, marking its first major victories since its counteroffensives began a week ago. Footage on social media showed Ukrainian troops celebrating the villages they were able to take back. According to a Ukrainian military blogger, during a span of a week, Ukraine was able to take back around 95 square kilometers of territory. However, Ukrainian forces still have a long way to go before they reach Russia's main fortified defensive lines, including the southwestern part of Zaporozhye. Despite the claims of major victories in the 3 villages, Russia has yet to confirm the losses, instead announcing it had successfully repelled a number of Ukrainian assaults. Russia's defense ministry said Sunday that Russian forces had shot down a Ukrainian Su-25 fighter jet in the Kherson region, while adding that it had also repelled 3 attacks from Ukrainian forces in the Zaporozhye region. The ministry added that Ukraine attempted to attack one of its Navy ships in the Black Sea using 6 drones, but ultimately failed. Russia's state-run TASS news agency also reported that Russian forces destroyed Ukrainian howitzers and multiple rocket launchers. The news outlet also reported on a number of other successful military operations conducted by Russian forces against Ukraine to repel the counteroffensives. While it's still too early to say which side has the upper edge, according to the British Ministry of Defence's Defense Intelligence Department, Ukraine has carried out important operations in several key areas in the southeastern regions. Lee Seung-won, Arirang News.
Korea's exports during the first 10 days of this month marked a slight expansion on year. According to the Korea Customs Service on Monday, the value of outbound shipments rose 1.2% on year, amounting to some $15.3 billion from June 1st to the 10th. But the agency has been quick to point out the rise in exports is linked to one more day of work, as this year there were 7 working days compared to last year's 6.5. It also added, in terms of daily average, the country's volume of exports during the given period actually retreated by 6%. Meanwhile, the country's trade deficit narrowed during the same period amid the falling value of imports. Following a flurry of diplomatic engagements in recent weeks, President Yoon Suk-yeol appears to have now shifted his focus to domestic affairs with priority on regional development as Korea looks ahead to its legislative election next year. Our top office correspondent Kim Do-yeon reports.
South Korea has one of the fastest decreasing populations in the world, with small rural towns facing the risk of disappearing. And with the government and opposition lawmakers making clear the importance of promoting balanced regional growth, President Yoon Suk-yeol has highlighted an underlying vision of his that has been no secret since his election.
저는 평소 지역 균형 발전 전략으로 공정한 접근성, 또 재정 권한 강화, 그리고 지역의 특화된 산업을 지역 스스로 선택해서 결정하는 이 세 가지가 균형 발전의 기본이라고 생각을 해왔습니다.
And this past week, the president put his words into action. On Monday, he went to the western port city, Incheon, where the new overseas Korean agency opened up.
전 세계에서 민간 경제 외교 사절로 활약 중인 재외동포의 네트워크 허브가 될 재외동포청은 인천이 글로벌 도시로 성장하는 데 큰 동력이 될 것입니다.
On Wednesday, he went to Cheongju City for the groundbreaking ceremony of a high-speed railroad.
5성의 철도 산업 클러스터를 조성하고 기존 생명과학단지를 K바이오 스퀘어로 탈바꿈하여 충북을 국가 첨단 산업의 중심으로 육성할 것입니다.
On Friday, he went to Gangwon-do province, which has recently become a special self-governing province. This was one of the most notable domestic achievements that has support across the political divide. While the effects are not going to be immediate, experts say this is a forward-thinking move.
There are differences in each region, and the national government has limits in terms of managing them. Now, if local governments can make decisions for themselves, they will be able to consider different aspects themselves and make more reasonable decisions. But for the results to show, it'll take some time.
Next in line for an upgrade is Jeollabuk-do province, which in January will also become a self-governing province. The president shifted focus this week after spending the month of May engaged in diplomatic events which earned him favorable approval ratings from his foreign policy achievements. So, why a sudden turn to domestic politics? Pundits are pointing to the general elections next April.
He needs to boost his approval rating for the general elections next year, and in that case, he needs to win the hearts of the voters in different regions. However, if he does that too close to the election, he will get criticized by the opposition, and there are legal limits, so he is working on it now.
Experts also say that while much of these policies have been supported by both parties, it is likely that the general public will remember the president's role. And there's one related key achievement that could yet come as we wait to see if Busan wins the bid to host the 2030 World Expo. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, on the football field over in Argentina, Team Korea lost to Israel to end in 4th place in the 23rd edition of the FIFA U-20 World Cup. Our Choi Soo-young reports.
South Korea's under-20 national football team took 4th place at the 2023 FIFA U-20 World Cup. They played their last match in Argentina, the 3rd-place playoff against Israel, in the early hours of Monday morning Korea time. Israel took the lead after 19 minutes before South Korea's captain Lee Seung-won scored a penalty 6 minutes later. But Israel scored twice more in the second half to win by 3-1. South Korea's 4th-place finish means they are the only Asian country to reach the last 4 in 2 consecutive Under-20 World Cups. Korea reached the final in 2019 while the 2021 tournament was cancelled due to COVID-19. An exhausting 1-0 win over Nigeria in a game that went to extra time got South Korea through the quarterfinals, but accumulated fatigue from the previous matches caught up with the young Tiger Warriors, who lost late to Italy in the semi-finals. Captain Lee Seung-won impressed for South Korea and won the bronze ball given to the tournament's 3rd best player. Lee scored 3 goals and got 4 assists. Those 7 attacking points means he surpassed Lee Gang-in, the MVP in 2019. Uruguay won the championship for the first time by beating Italy by 1-0 in the final. The exciting 21-day journey has now come to an end, but a bright future lies ahead for the young Tiger Warriors. They will return home on Wednesday. Choi Soo-young, Arirang News.
Come tomorrow, that is June 13th, K-pop sensation BTS marks its 10th anniversary. That being said, our Song Yoo-jin takes a walk down memory lane to the group's past and more.
Everybody, 단체. 둘, 셋, 팍! 다! 안녕하세요. 방탄소년단입니다. Yeah! 같이 인사 좀 드려요.
This appearance on Arirang TV was just 3 months after their debut, but fast forward almost a decade. And BTS has blossomed into a 5-time Grammy nominee, Times Entertainer of the Year, music chart toppers, and the most followed music group on Instagram. But BTS's success didn't happen overnight. When the boys released their debut track, No More Dream, in 2013, they weren't signed with one of the big 3 record companies in Korea, known for producing hit K-pop groups since the 90s. Their rebellious bad boy looks and aggressive hip-hop music presented a stark contrast to the clean-cut, romance-singing boy groups K-pop fans were accustomed to. It was actually social media that first rose the boys to stardom.
And even before their debut, they were talking with their fans. They always showed insight into who they are. They always had their, nowadays we see Jungkook going on a live stream with 10 million people, and back then they were doing it for just a few people on YouTube. But it's always been that way. And
This not only expanded BTS's reach, but also fostered a deep connection with their fans, the ARMY. But success wouldn't have lasted long without good music. Unlike most K-pop songs written by renowned composers, BTS members actively contributed as songwriters and producers.
But you become a voice of a generation because you really put yourself out there, or you put music out there that is very both personal and relatable. That's what makes a great pop song or a great, popular hit. So every person can listen to it and feel, oh, I feel that way. And
the song Love Myself really empowered me. I had a difficult time at work back then, and the song gave me a lot of comfort.
Equally important is the fact that all 7 members have remained together until now.
Unlike many K-pop groups that pursue unique projects, BTS has always worked together other than releasing solo work. This unity and strength are what define BTS.
Their songs and dances are really cool, and it's just great to see the strong bond between the members.
All this paved the way for other K-pop acts to shine on the global stage.
BTS has brought K-pop into the mainstream. K-pop used to be a niche music loved by enthusiasts, but it's now become a universal genre enjoyed worldwide like Latin or British pop.
No one could have predicted the immense scale of BTS's success 10 years ago. Although they're currently taking time off as a group, who knows what extraordinary accomplishments they'll achieve in the next 10 years. 송유진, Arirang News.
In other news, researchers here have discovered that red ginseng eases the negative effects of excessive alcohol consumption. Our Yoon explains.
Laboratory mice were given ethanol, the chemical name for alcohol, and put in a Y-shaped maze. The natural curiosity of mice means they should explore all 3 parts of the maze. But the mice that have been given ethanol quickly forgot the path they've already traveled and keep returning to the same path. The red line marks their route, which shows one part of the maze untraveled. The cognitive function of the mice has been diminished by the alcohol. But a team of researchers tested the effects of red ginseng by giving a group of mice both ethanol and red ginseng. The effects of red ginseng means they explore the maze in a similar way to the sober mice.
We were able to confirm that administering red ginseng improves cognitive functions that have been impaired by alcohol. The higher the dose, the greater the effect.
Red ginseng has also been shown to improve one of the biggest problems of alcoholism, withdrawal symptoms. The mice on the left, which have become addicted to alcohol, are seen scratching themselves, a sign of withdrawal. But the mice on the right, given both ethanol and red ginseng, don't show any such signs.
We've confirmed that the neuroinflammation in the hippocampus, which is the area responsible for long-term and short-term memory and is increased by alcohol, was reduced with the administering of red ginseng.
Other than cutting out alcohol altogether, there hasn't been a treatment for alcoholism or reduced memory function, also referred to as blacking out. And this is the first time that this traditional medicinal ingredient, which is also very accessible in Korea, has been shown to improve such conditions. The research team will continue looking into the exact substance in red ginseng that creates such benefits. Yoon, Arirang News.
Let's take a look at what's going on in the world now. In the Red Sea, search teams are looking for 3 missing British tourists. The tourists disappeared after the boat they were on suddenly caught fire on Sunday local time off the coastal city of Marsa Alam. The boat was carrying 15 British tourists, 12 crew members and 2 guides. All passengers except the missing 3 have been rescued. The boat was on a 7-day dive cruise and was due to return to port on the day of the fire. According to a spokesperson for the boat's operator, the fire started while the boat was at a popular diving spot. Early investigations indicate that an electrical fault in the boat's engine room may have caused the fire. In Colombia, 4 children were found alive on Friday evening after surviving in the Amazon rainforest for 40 days. The children, aged between 11 months and 13 years, were stranded in the jungle after a private Cessna plane they were on crashed. A pilot and co-pilot died immediately, and the children's mother reportedly died 4 days later. The children were able to survive by eating cassava flour and fruit seeds. Rescue teams said that the children survived for so long due to their indigenous roots, which made them immune to certain diseases. They also knew how to find food and water. The search operation included over 100 Colombian Special Forces troops and more than 70 indigenous scouts. Moving over to sports, Novak Djokovic has broken the world record for the most Grand Slam titles ever won. The achievement comes after the 36-year-old Serbian won his 3rd French Open final on Sunday in Paris. Djokovic beat Norwegian Casper Ruud in straight sets. The men's world #1 previously shared the title of most Grand Slams won with Rafael Nadal. Meanwhile, in the women's event, Iga Swiatek also claimed her 3rd French Open win on Saturday for her 4th Grand Slam win. The world #1 seeded Polish player beat unseeded Czech Karolina Muchova in a 3rd set comeback after winning her 1st set and losing her 2nd. And finally, Ferrari claimed victory over the weekend at the 100th anniversary of the Le Mans 24 Hours race. It was a triumphant return to the endurance race for Ferrari, who hadn't competed at Le Mans since 1973. But the win at the Circuit de la Sarthe didn't come easy, as Ferrari had to battle against a competitive Toyota, which was aiming to clinch its 6th straight Le Mans title. Ferrari also had to overcome bad weather and a series of technical issues. But their 499P Le Mans hypercar, driven separately by 3 drivers in shifts, crossed the finish line with a lead of 1 minute 21 seconds, ahead of 2nd place Toyota. Matthew Ashley, Arirang News.
Good afternoon. Since we entered June, we are getting frequent passing rain due to atmospheric instability. There were even reports of a devastating lightning strike incident over the weekend. So if you see lightning and hear the rumble of thunder, be sure to get inside right away. A new week kicks off with a chance of more passing rain with up to 50 millimeters in the forecast. Precipitation could vary depending on the region though. But until it starts to rain, skies will remain clear with very strong UV rays in most parts of the country. Ozone levels will be high in most regions except in Gangwon-do and on Jeju Island. Afternoon highs are similar to slightly lower than Sunday, hovering in the upper 20s, but Gwangju looks to be a little bit hotter. Air quality will be decent nationwide today. More chances of rain in the forecast early this week, while the temperatures heat up as the week goes on under sunnier skies nationwide. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
Those are the headlines at this hour, but we have our panel session coming up right after this break, so do stay with us. Thank you for now.